Assab, Eritrea, a strategic port with a complex story. Let's take a journey to the southeastern edge of Eritrea, a place that might not make international headlines often but has quietly shaped the political and economic dynamics of the Horn of Africa. I'm talking about Assab, also spelled Assab, a port city on the Red Sea coast. At first glance, Assab might seem like a quiet, isolated spot surrounded by desert and sea, but beneath that lies a rich history full of colonial intrigue, regional politics, trade routes, and cultural shifts. Geographical location and setting. Assab sits in the southern Red Sea region of Eritrea, very close to the border with Djibouti and near the strategic Bab-el-Mandeb Strait, which connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden and the Arabian Sea. This strait is one of the world's busiest maritime choke points, meaning Assab is in a highly strategic location, both economically and militarily. The landscape around Assab is arid and desert-like, with high temperatures year-round. The region receives very little rainfall, and the land is mostly flat with some volcanic rock formations. While the natural environment might seem harsh, Assab's location has made it a vital node for trade and geopolitics. Historical overview. Pre-colonial and early contacts. Before it became a modern port city, Assab was a small, relatively unknown coastal settlement. Its earliest known inhabitants were part of the Afar ethnic group, a nomadic people known for their resilience in harsh desert climates. The Afar people engaged in fishing, herding, and salt trading across the coastal desert. The Red Sea was always a highway of trade and migration from Arab merchants to ancient African empires, so it's safe to say Assab witnessed some level of maritime activity even in ancient times, though it remained relatively obscure until the colonial era. Colonial acquisition by Italy 1869 to 1882. Assab rose to prominence when Italy bought it in 1869. At the time, the Suez Canal had just opened also in 1869, and the Red Sea's importance for global shipping skyrocketed. The land was bought by an Italian shipping company called Rubattino Company, which eventually transferred it to the Italian government in 1882. That marked the beginning of Italian colonization in what would become Italian Eritrea. Assab was the first piece of Eritrean land under Italian rule, even before the capital Asmara was under their control. The Italians saw Assab as a strategic coaling station and port that could support ships heading to or from the Suez Canal. However, Assab didn't flourish as much as the Italians had hoped, not initially. Its remote desert location and lack of fresh water made development slow. It wasn't until the 20th century that the infrastructure started to improve. World War II and British occupation. During World War II, the British defeated the Italians in East Africa, including Eritrea. From 1941 to 1952, the British military administered Eritrea, including Assab. They maintained the port, but did not significantly develop it. However, Assab remained important as a secondary port compared to Massawa, which was more developed and centrally located. Federation and annexation by Ethiopia 1950 to 1991. In 1952, the United Nations federated Eritrea with Ethiopia, and in 1962, Ethiopia fully annexed it, making Eritrea a province. During this period, particularly under Emperor Haile Selassie and later the Derg regime, Assab grew rapidly. Ethiopia is landlocked, so Assab became one of Ethiopia's most important seaports. The Ethiopians invested heavily in the city, building the Assab oil refinery in 1967 and expanding port facilities. The city became a gateway for Ethiopia's international trade, especially for oil and manufactured goods. Its population increased as workers and traders moved in from other parts of Eritrea and Ethiopia. But tensions were growing. Eritrean nationalists were fighting for independence. For decades, the Eritrean War of Independence raged, and by the late 1980s, the port was under threat from Eritrean rebels. Eritrean independence and loss of Ethiopian access 1991 to 1998. In 1991, Eritrean rebels the EPLF captured Assab just after they captured the capital Asmara. In 1993, Eritrea officially gained independence. Initially, Eritrea and Ethiopia maintained good relations, and Ethiopia continued to use Assab for its imports and exports. But things quickly soured. A border war broke out in 1998, and diplomatic ties were cut. Ethiopia stopped using Assab and began relying on Djibouti instead. This was a massive blow to Assab's economy, demographics, and population. Assab's population today is estimated to be around 30,000 to 40,000 people, although accurate figures are hard to find due to limited data from Eritrea. The city's population peaked in the 1980s and early 1990s when Ethiopian trade was flowing through the port. Ethnic composition. The main local ethnic group is the Afar, a Cushitic-speaking, mostly Muslim nomadic people who have lived in the region for centuries. They also live in neighboring Djibouti and Ethiopia. The city also includes Tigrinya-speaking Eritreans, especially those who moved there for government, trade, or military work. During Ethiopian control, many Amharic-speaking Ethiopians lived and worked in Assab. After Eritrea's independence, many of them left or were expelled. Tigrinya is the most widely spoken national language in Eritrea and is used by government and military officials. Afar is the local language among indigenous people. Arabic is also spoken and understood, especially due to trade and religious ties. Italian influence still lingers in architecture, and a few older residents may remember Italian phrases. The Afar people are predominantly Sunni Muslims. Tigrinya-speaking Eritreans in Assab are mostly Orthodox Christians, part of the Eritrean Orthodox Tewahedo Church. Religious coexistence has been generally peaceful, though shaped by broader national politics. Assab's life is slow-paced. Daily routines revolve around fishing, small-scale trade, and port-related activities. The heat and arid conditions influence housing, flat roofs, shade structures, and water conservation habits. Cultural events are tied to Islamic and Christian religious holidays, including Eid, Meskel, and Timkat. Traditional Afar dance and music, often performed at weddings or festivals, reflect pastoral themes and desert survival. Economy and infrastructure. Port of Assab. Assab's port handled petroleum imports, food aid shipments, manufactured goods exports. The port includes a deep-water harbor, a refinery now shut down, warehousing and cargo facilities. Assab Oil Refinery. Built in 1967, it was Eritrea's only refinery, providing fuel for both countries. It shut down in 1997 due to financial and technical issues and hasn't been revived. Military use. In recent years, there have been reports of foreign military activity at or near Assab, particularly involving UAE and Saudi forces, who allegedly used the area during the Yemen War starting in 2015. This has increased the city's strategic importance again. Geopolitical importance. Assab's position near the Bab-el-Mandeb Strait gives it regional significance beyond its size. Several global powers including the US, China, and Gulf countries have shown interest in Red Sea ports. Djibouti, just up the coast, hosts multiple foreign military bases. Assab, while quieter, is potentially valuable as a military logistics base, as a trade outlet for East Africa, and possibly in future peace-building between Eritrea and Ethiopia. Challenges in the future. Assab has many challenges. Isolation. It's far from Asmara and connected by poor roads. Lack of investment. Decades of war, sanctions have limited development. Declining population. Young people often migrate to escape limited opportunities. Environmental stress. Water scarcity and heat limit agriculture and industry. Yet, hope remains. If Eritrea reopens its economy and peace with Ethiopia holds, Assab could be revived as a commercial port for southern Eritrea, as a refueling and repair hub for Red Sea traffic, or even as a tourist gateway to the Dahlak Islands, though tourism is nearly non-existent now. Assab is a small city with an oversized legacy. It has been a gateway for colonial ambition, a pillar of regional trade, and a victim of geopolitical rivalry. Today, it stands at a crossroads, quiet, underused, and full of potential. Whether Assab thrives again depends on regional peace, international investment, and Eritrea's openness to the world. But one thing's for sure, Assab's story is far from over.